Steinfeld for New Realities, and I'm here with the maestro, the actual master of public access TV. And you go back, we're going to show a clip of one of the earliest and probably one of the most popular shows you've ever done with Jane Roberts. But when did you actually start public access?
Well, it would it would have had to have been back in the early 70s when everything was just coming into being. I was an academic and was teaching at a university when the cyber thing started.
Right.
And Jane Roberts was one of the very important early people who used video.
Well, let's see this. This is Harold now. Let's go back to 1972, one of his earliest programs, his interview with Jane Roberts, and this is Harold then. Let's roll that in.
Oh, this was in her living room with Robert Butts, her husband.
Here we are, Harold.
This evening we're coming to you from Elmira, New York, and we are really very, very honored and privileged to be able to be in the living room and the seminar room of one of the very most significant individuals on planet Earth that have had experiences with an altered state of consciousness. Ms. Jane Roberts, who, along with her husband, Robert Butts, have been investigating over these past 10-odd years, if I'm correct. I'm not exactly sure, but approximately 10 years. Another state of consciousness than which we are normally accustomed to dealing with. I'd like to welcome you very, very much to the program, and I thank you very much for inviting me here to be able to talk to you. I wonder, perhaps, whoever, I'm not sure which one of you might like to pick up on it first, but there will be some people in the audience, believe it or not, although it's a pretty aware audience that watches this program, but there will be some people in the audience who aren't aware of the material, the Seth material. Could you maybe just give us a little bit of a background for a general audience of the means by which, in a general way, you came in contact kind of consciousness and how it all got started?
Bob?
This began late in 1963. One evening, Jane was writing poetry after supper, as her usual custom, and she went into an altered state of consciousness. Just very unexpected by her. And she had an out-of-body experience. She found her consciousness leaving her body. And at the same time, she began to write in sort of an automatic script. Now, this experience lasted for over half an hour. And when Jane returned to her usual state of consciousness, she discovered that she produced this script called The Universe is Idea Construction.
This is in one evening?
In one evening, after supper. I was painting in my studio, and she was sitting out here. And I thought it was awfully quiet out there. And so I finally came out to see what she was so quiet about. And it was just at the end of this experience. She wasn't even able to use her voice to call me, to tell me what was going on.
Good heavens. Had anything like that happened to you before?
No, and actually it lasted a lot longer. It was well over an hour.
Oh, wow.
No, I just, I've been a poet since I was a child. And writing. The next thing I knew, my consciousness was just gone. And it wasn't in out of body in the respect that I had another body or thought I did. My consciousness through like the window and then into the leaves and into everything. And it wasn't until I came back that I found the script and realized that, I had to have written it.
Yeah. When you came back and you were in, you weren't. There's two separate planes. You weren't aware of the other as you were.
I wasn't aware of my body at all, or the manuscript or writing or anything. I was completely.
What did you think?
Gone. When I was doing it or after?
Oh, after. Oh, we get to what you were thinking
the first thing I did was call for Ron, and I saw the script and I started reading it like mad. But the thing of it was that the stuff that was in the script was stuff I had felt while I was out, to some extent, in that the script, again, the title was The Physical Universe as Idea Construction, the idea being that everything is a result of idea and has consciousness. But when I was out, would go in atoms and molecules, and I felt their consciousness. But then when I read the script, it was terribly hard to accept portions of it because it pretty much went against what I've been taught.
But I mean, just having experienced that, I mean, what was your reaction to?
Wild. I mean, I had done no reading in this field. I had done nothing. So as far as I knew, this had never happened before to another individual.
It was something more
anyplace.
than super
It was, you know, where did I go? How did I get out of my body? This is fantastic.
I wanted to take one thing I'd like to say to the viewing audience that I'd like to point out, if we could very quickly at this time, the book, The Seth Material, which is Jane's and Rob's book they put out. The Seth Material is the one which, can you zoom in on it? Yeah? And let them see that it's published by Prentice Hall. This is a good general description, I think, of the characteristics of what's happened. This is the first. And another is Seth. Seth's big, intriguing look at a new consciousness from Seth.
Yeah, that was written entirely in the translate.
Entirely in the translate. And then we have a new book that is now on the shelves, written by Jane. And this is The Education of Oversoul 7. This is out now. This is out in the bookstores now. And then the one last, which is just about to come out, The Nature of Personal Reality, a Seth book. I would like to just, if I could, thank you very much for this brief introduction. Extremely good information. And I would like to inform the viewing audience that Jane and Robin have very, very kindly invited us to be present at a meeting and class in which possibly Seth will come through. And we'll see if we can maybe in the background get some of that for the video audience.
A hectic affair.
And if that's okay for you and for Seth and for the world, I think the world's waiting and ready for Seth and or for Jane. And let me just say thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
That was her. She's wonderful.
Congratulations that you realize that's the only video ever of Jane Roberts. And how did you contact her? I mean,
well, I was a professor, and I was a defrocked professor because I was very anti-authoritarian.
Right, but you're not a metaphysician. How did you contact Jane Roberts?
Well, actually, it was a telephone connection that I had made from Newport, and my friend, who was a friend of mine who was doing video for me then, we actually had gotten somehow a 3/4-inch deck and everything, which was pretty unique. There wasn't much videotaping going on because the technology was only just developing.
But how did you feel about being in the room when Jane switched her state of consciousness and Seth came through?
I was just going to say we had got a great big luxury limousine that had been sold to us for practically nothing because everybody wanted to get 1,000 miles to a gallon in a little Volkswagen. And we drove in that to Elmira after a telephone conversation with my friend who was my fellow comrade, Steve Bell, that was a major videographer. And we drove to Elmira on appointment.
And she was both of them, Richard Butts, who took actually...
they were both wonderful
Richard,
people.
Everything Jane ever spoke in those dialogues were recorded by hand, by her husband, Richard.
My friend was probably more introduced me to that than I did by myself.
Right.
I wasn't into the consciousness thing as much as he was, but he was my dear friend, real smart. He's still around.
But when you saw her go from Jane
I'm
to
trying
Seth,
to get to that thing.
Okay.
And I'll say that little clip you saw of her, she was there, and like I told you, we became the very best friends, Jane Roberts.
You did? Did you correspond?
Yes,
regularly. Do you have a collection of those letters still?
Around somewhere.
Oh, that would be valuable.
And no, but we were in communication, friendly, but I didn't know her. I would just gone in, and she was going to have a class or something.
Yeah.
And then we went and we came back, and then she came into the room with a number of people, people who were involved with her thinking, and she was there talking.
Well, it was after the Seth Material started, and this whole thing, before I'd realized that people, you might use them or think of them as symbols, or you might, no matter how you relate to them, they have their own fantastic individuality. And whenever any beliefs, even our own, blind you to that, you have lost. Whenever you relate to someone as simply a belief, or you get your back up and you don't see their reality, then believe what? Will bring you closer to people. It will not divide you. If it divides you, that is not what it is.
And she was there talking just like Jane Roberts.
Right.
And I'm there listening to it. And it was the most it was a thing that just blew me out, because all at once this voice came out of her. It had been very feminine, very gentle.
Well, like a regular person.
Yeah. And everything. And this voice all of a sudden just came out of her, and apparently she told me, and she wasn't even aware of it, but it came out and she said, "Good evening," like this, right? And it just scared the daylights out. It was powerful. It was powerful beyond belief for me.
You still remember that moment?
Absolutely. It was just staggeringly powerful.
Actually, if we continue on that, you'd see her starting to go into a transcend channel. Seth.
I'll bid you good evening.
How's it going?
Good evening.
And understand your responses to our friend here. Because you fear the beliefs that you still are afraid operate. You are afraid that after all, for all of your hard-earned knowledge, the others are right. You sinned in our well-meaning and beautiful friend. Those are beliefs against which you yourselves have fought for so long. And you are afraid that in your heart of hearts you do not trust the joyful integrity of your own being. You are afraid that after all, the old stories may be correct, and there is something wrong in your creaturehood. You are afraid because our friend Andy is so sincere and so intent, that after all, what he unconsciously feels and what sometimes comes through in his talk is right after all. You must ascend now. In those terms, what you want to be is within you now, and within your glowing creaturehood. You are blessed because of your being, not damned because of it. As I have told you often, there is a spiritual biology within your being, and it speaks through each of your moments and through your sexual experiences. It speaks when you drink a glass of water, or when you wiggle your foot. That is also a highly biological nature to your spirituality. Your atoms and your molecules and your cells know themselves to be part of all that is. They do not question. That does not mean that there is anything wrong with questioning. It does mean that I say to you that you are blessed because you are. That that your spirituality is known through the glories of your flesh, and that your flesh becomes more spiritual because of its existence through the seasons and its experience with the time that you know and recognize. You form your own reality.
How'd you feel watching that program of yourself?
Well, when that happened, I was just thunderstruck.
Wow.
It's sitting there in the room.
Well,
because she went on talking about different kinds of good evening and on, and she had a very deep, guttural voice.
I know, and you did.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
but I think her teachings, it's not that, yes, she transformed, but what she talked about, one of her books is called The Nature of Personal Reality. They are still very relevant to people's lives today.
Yeah, I think so.
You may find yourself with a random thought that does not seem to fit in with what you are doing or thinking at the time, and so you dismiss it. It seems random because it does not appear to fit in with your organized picture of reality, but it is an important mosaic that you throw away. So I also joyfully and playfully and creatively challenge each of you, even Jerky Boy over here, to become more and more aware of your waking experience and of those stray thoughts that come in your terms like thieves in the night. They are not official. You do not accept them. The intellect says, oh, no. Listen to those thoughts. Open your mind a mite further. In your ordinary waking life, in the middle of your ordinary pursuits, and see what miracles are there. And I say miracles. Miracles because they can help transform your own understanding and your own reality. Be gentle with your own experience. Do not be such a disciplinarian that when stray thoughts or intuitions come to you, you dismiss them. The fields of your own beings are filled with flowers that you do not recognize. You do not stop to look at them or smell their odors. They are not official flowers or official fruit. Sometimes you try to be too practical. You have lovely eyes. Those eyes do not try to be practical. They see out of the joy of their being. They do not hustle themselves. The right eye does not say, is what I am seeing right? And the left eye does not say, is what I am seeing wrong? They see together, and in being themselves, they see for you. For the atoms within your eyes do not see this image, though you do. You interpret the image, and you see what you see. The eyes vision. The reality of the atoms and molecules that exist within the eye, that vision is far different. And yet there is no disagreement. So there is no disagreement between your official reality and those unofficial realities that sometimes sneak through. Come out. Camera? Light?
Yeah, it's all right.
I believe in channeling. I believe she contacted
Yeah,
a
there was
being
something
of
like
higher
channeling or
consciousness.
something.
Well,
Yeah.
it's very popular now. So she went into a trance, and
Well, it was popular then among they had hippies.
but
You know,
that.
people who like pot.
But
and
now
stuff.
it's kind of like mainstream. People talk about channeling all the time, but Jane Roberts was the first.
More, I thought of her as a friend
Yeah.
because we became very, very good friends. We communicated and everything like that.
Thank you. Very, very impressive. Have you enjoyed it?
Yes, I really have.
You have. That's
I really have. I think class did too.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you.
the class did.
When you finished that interview, you
It
suddenly
could've-
suddenly had a different
it could-
perspective.
Yes, it could have been because my friend was all into it and I was more political then and everything. But when she said, she's sitting there and she's such a lovely thing. And she goes and she's sitting all in a rocking chair.
Mhm.
And she's talking to these assembled people
Right.
that were devotees and everything. And then out of the blue of that lovely presence, there came this most deafening male voice. And it said, "Good evening." And it just made me go goosebumples.
What did you
I
think?
mean, it was really interesting. And she was being very authentic.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So she was really tapping into this male.
I guess I never did.
Well,
that,
I do
you know.
believe it, that consciousness
yeah.
is non-local, and she was able to shift her awareness to, like a radio receiver, tune the dial and get another.
Well, I
being
have
coming
to agree
through.
with you and people like you. I think it's wonderful they're there and they're getting to do it. And
I've
there's
interviewed-
hope, I would think,
Mm.
but I don't. I guess I don't have
Well-
anybody now that you. I don't know.
I'll
who-
bring some people into your show if you want to
Well,
interview some more
maybe,
people like
but
that.
I-
What kind of stuff did she write to you about in her letters? Do you remember?
I don't.
Well,
I
we'll
don't
have-
remember.
we're
It was
gonna-
all very much about good. It was all about consciousness, and
Well,
you know,
There only
and
is.
that alternate state of con. Now, I was never, and I still am not, much of one who has much to do with all of that consciousness stuff. But it became what was the hippies, the hippie, and who is it? Who's the guy that was the real leader of the
Timothy Leary.
Timothy Leary?
Right.
We became quite close.
You and Timothy Leary.
Yeah, we did a program with Timothy
you had a
Leary, and it was into that consciousness.
Do you still have
stuff.
that program available somewhere?
Yeah, it's up.
But first, tell me, what year did you start Manhattan Cable? Because you're probably the longest-running producer in the country on cable
I
access.
don't want to say that. There were people way before
No,
that.
but
There
now
were,
you're still doing it. That's 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. That's like 50.
gets to be long after a while.
But
doesn't it?
and
Yeah.
in that time, you've interviewed some of the real
It's about
leaders.
5,000 hour long.
I know.
interviews
So
of
let's
that.
talk about from this early 70s you started.
Yeah, and it almost started with Jane Roberts, who you're very taken with.
Yeah, I am.
And we became friends personally.
So what keeps you going? You still do 5 programs a week. At 85, you have unstoppable energy. What keeps you going?
Well, I don't know. I have a curiosity, I guess.
Still,
and I
always.
still have this it's a little hard to hold on to when you get to be my age and everything. That I got a chance to maybe help make a small contribution.
Well, maybe you
to
have.
the averse to our destroying the whole. Not the planet, but the whole species.
I think
I think the species is worth saving, and I'm very, very concerned with the cavalier attitude of our political and economic.
I agree with you.
leadership.
You have made a contribution, Harold.
Well, I don't know if I have.
I
It
think
didn't
you-
seem to me Jane Roberts was good.
I think there is a force making sure we don't blow ourselves
Well,
up.
I hope you're right, my brother. Believe me, I
Harold.
hope you're right, but I don't see it.
Well,
I mean, I don't
see
know it. That's all, and it's not in my experience.
No, but Harold, you've done an incredible job. I want to thank you on behalf of the public and the thousands and thousands, probably hundreds
My
of
mother
thousands.
thought I was good.
Well, your mother was right. You know why? You kept at it. You've been a pioneer and you haven't stopped.
Well, we give it a try.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Harold Channer,
Oh, that's quite
for
a
your
bit.
time and the last 45 years
Well,
of
yeah.
your dedication
May
to.
this a beginning and a continuation
To
of a
inform-
wonderful friendship between us.
Well,
Okay.
we've been
And all the
friends
good
for about
people you-
25 years.
Yeah, I know. That's right. That's encouraging. That is
It is
encouraging.
encouraging.
And the good people are encouraging.
I want a list of everyone you've interviewed.
I
so-
got them all up on the YouTube.
Okay.
I make new programs all the time, and we can make them in our home now. You can make them and put them out all over the world. I want to stick with MNN. I'm a great believer of Manhattan Neighborhood
I know
Network
but you are the
and
longest.
public access.
and
I
you've
wish there
been-
was more
well,
support.
You're one of the
of
all-time producers
institutions.
here.
There isn't much support from public access
Well,
now
I
across
think
the
there
country.
any like.
No, it's not got the money. MNN is an anomaly in
Well,
my way of thinking. You
it-
happen to have had some very, very good people, George Stoney and all
Yeah.
the people. I hate to bring this up.
Bring
but
it
the
up.
early studio for me
Yeah.
is the experience of Jane Roberts in her
No,
living
no.
room
What about
with
the
the
early?
camera. I had the camera,
Right.
3/4 inch deck thing like this, you know,
Right.
and it
What-
was new.
But no, this is why we're doing public access, because we're showing people it's not about money, it's about information, encouragement, wisdom, and possibility.
I shouldn't have used that last sentence. It's good.
Thank you, Harold
It's only
Channer.
there- It's only
Alan
there for all
Steinfeld with the
it's only
great,
good for
the
all things.
everlasting Harold Channer. Thank you for your time here. Thank you for
Thank
your
you for coming
contribution.
back again next time. Please tune in.
Thanks for your contribution, Harold.
And you, sir.